So one thing that kind of confuses me from a political perspective in regards to the Democratic Party and their political calculus is the new wave of austerity that we're seeing in regards to the unemployment benefits, the COVID era unemployment benefits being rolled back, also the eviction moratorium. And in February, we're set to see student loan payments resume for the first time in almost 2 years. And this is a little confusing to me. I'm just kind of wondering why Democrats would be doing this going into the 2022 election. Do you have any thoughts on why this is happening?
It's happening because of the Republicans and the right-wing Democrats. It's not the Democratic Party. It's the Republicans who are 100% rock solid opposed to anything that might harm the interests of the ultra-rich and the corporate sector. We saw it again today. Read the business pages this morning, okay? This morning, right now. I have it right in front of me, if you want me to quote it. The Republican Party and the right-wing Democrats, who are mislabeled moderate, are moving to ensure that the Internal Revenue Service cannot investigate rich tax cheats. Okay, that's the Republican Party. You can't even investigate tax cheating by the very rich. Okay, very clear. As far as the unemployment benefits are concerned, they were very beneficial to working people. Under right-wing pressure, they've had to be canceled. It's had no effect on employment. We now have evidence on that. People are not going back to work for quite good reasons. They don't want to go back to the rotten, dangerous jobs that have been created by 40 years of the neoliberal assault. They don't want to go back to them. It's a strike. It's basically a strike, a massive strike against horrible working conditions, lowering of wages, creating a precarious economy for the benefit of the super rich. Started by Reagan, picked up by others. After 40 years of that, people are resisting. Okay? Understandable.
But just to be clear, I believe there is some debate over whether or not Joe Biden could write off student loan debt. Do you have any thoughts on why he wouldn't do that?
He could. You're saying he might say by executive order,
Yes.
rule Congress. Yes, he could. And
but if the president has the power to pause student loan payments, doesn't that suggest that he has the power to get rid of them?
He could try an executive order to overrule the right wing, the far right efforts to harm the population and benefit the very rich. He could try that. It would immediately start a series of lawsuits by major corporations, tie up the courts for 15 years. They have enormous resources. It would mean more fossil fuel and corporate funding for the right-wing Democrats and Republicans. They would give them more incentive and they'd be able to get public opinion to back them through the kinds of things you're saying, to try to stymie the rest of the program. So he could do that, but it would be political suicide.
As I see it, the current course is political suicide because, again, in February, you're going to have 45 million people in this country who weren't making student loan payments for the past 2 years, having to effectively make another mortgage payment every month. That seems like it could be just catastrophic to the economy and civil society.
That's right. The right wing and the positions you're advocating have set up a situation in which there's no easy way out. If you follow what the Republicans 100% and the right-wing Democrats are demanding, it's very harmful to the country and to the prospects for the Democrats. In fact, that's exactly why they're doing it. They're quite open about it. As McConnell put it very clearly, explicitly, we have to make sure the country's ungovernable, meaning harm the country as much as possible, and then we can blame it on the Democrats. That's the right wing, including the right wing Democrats, Manchin, Sinema, others. What's the alternative? Well, the alternative is Democrats could try to ram it through anyway somehow with end runs like executive action, which would be a gift to the far right. Gift to the far right. They could then start a huge propaganda campaign about how you're just a bunch of fascists trying to overthrow democratic rule. They could tie it all up in corporate lawsuits. Corporations have huge batteries of lawyers who are willing, eager to go to the courts and stop everything for years. So it would be suicidal. So they've done the right wing has done quite well in setting up conditions on which they can harm the country badly and gain from it politically. Yes, that was true. Something like that happened during the Obama years. Plenty of guilt to go around on all sides, including Obama. But McConnell was very explicit in saying, as soon as Obama was elected, our one goal is to make sure that he can achieve nothing, okay? So these stimulus efforts were much less than they should have been, dragging out the recession, harming people, making it more possible for the business right-wing offensive to blame the government for it, along with Obama's own actions, which we could go into, that brought about the Republican wave. Now the Republicans who recognize that they are a minority party are working very hard to try to ensure that they can maintain minority rule indefinitely by voting restrictions which prevent the wrong people from voting. If you look at elections, Republicans almost always lose the elections, but nevertheless have a majority in the House and the Senate, sometimes even the presidency. And the only way to hold on to that is by blocking voting and preventing what's happening right now in Congress, an effort by mainstream Democrats to put through a Voting Rights Act. Republicans are 100% opposed. The right-wing Democrats are opposed. They don't want to secure voting rights for people in this country, just like they don't want the Internal Revenue Service to be able to inspect tax cheating by rich people. Okay? It's happening right in front of our eyes. Today, the vote is coming up. It'll probably be turned down.
So just back to student loans for a minute. In terms of the debt holders themselves, what do you think they should do? Would you be supportive of a student loan debt strike when payments resume?
Debt strike, tenant.
Of the 45 million people who owe student loans?
Sorry.
Would you be supportive of the 45 million people who owe student loans when those payments resume, going on debt strike and not continuing not to make payments?
Depends who they are. If it's renters, they may have a case. Renting is going way out of sight. Okay? If we lived in a decent society that cares about people, there would be efforts being made to protect people who cannot find a home at a livable price. Since the right wing will not permit us to be a decent society, people will have to find some way to defend themselves. As long as the right wing and the business sector are committed to ensuring the demands of the ultra rich in the corporate sector, we're going to be way behind the rest of the world. We already are way behind the developed world. It's a scandal. This is the richest, most country in history. Advantages that no other country has. We rank way at the bottom of the rich countries in providing elementary human rights. We're the worst in the health system, virtually twice the expenditure of others, some of the worst health outcomes. We don't have childcare. People are forced to work a month longer than they do in comparable countries. We have a rising mortality, which no country has. Yes, the right wing and the business sector have put a stranglehold on the country, which is harming it severely. And under those circumstances, people have to find some way to protect themselves.